Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm creating this video to implement the if else conditions. So I'm creating this video to make a better understanding of the if else statement. And in our previous classes, we have learned about the if else condition and the switch case statement. But this time, I'm going to create a small project using a if else condition. In fact, a nested if else condition. We already have seen how the various syntax of the if else conditions and the nested if else conditions. And we have also seen the use of switch case statement and the different environment where the switch case and the nested if else conditions is used. So let's get started with some project. So the project could move something like this. For example, we want to create a small project. Let's say create a program. We want to create a program that reads, let's say that reads the subject name. Okay, for I'll just make it more simple first, and we'll be moving into more complicated cases. So let us say I want to create a program that reads the student names, roll number, and different subject that are studied by the student, and pass mark, obtain mark, and full mark of each student, and the program should calculate, let's say the program should calculate the percentage obtained and the grade of the students. For example, I'll make it very simple. So the grade is calculated, let's say the grade is on following basis. For example, let's say on following basis. For example, let's say we want to create some criteria for the calculation for the grade. So let's say I want to have a very simple criteria for calculation of grade. So let's say this is a criteria, that means for the calculation of grade, let's say this is a percentage obtained, and let's say this is a grade. So if anybody scores more than 80%, more than or equal to 80%, let's say the grade is distinction. Let's say if a grade is more than or equal to 60 and less than 80, and let's say it's simply merit grade. And if it is more or equal to 45, and if it is less than let's say 60, we assume that it's only a pass grade. And let us check one more, let us make it 45, and if the grade is less than 45, then let's say the student is supposed to be failed. So this is a small project that we want to implement in our GUI environment. So we need to have an idea of how to create the forms. We need to have some idea of how to generate the different controls. So today we'll see again how you can work with different controls in a C# environment. Basically, we working with the Windows Form applications. So let's get started with a Visual Studio. So I'm going to start a Visual Studio 2019. Now I have 2012, so we can either use any of the versions. So any of the version is applicable to. You can use any of the version to develop this application. So let me start with Visual Studio 2012, and let me create a project for you. Okay, so let me create a new project. Let me go to File, New, and the project. Let us make Windows Form application, and I'm going to save it in some locations. I'm going to make it result processing system. So you have to make sure that you provide no space whenever you make a project. The project name has no space. So this is same as the one like you define the variable. So let me save it to some locations. So my location something would be a D drive, batch, and this is in section C. Okay, perfect. So let me just create OK, and this creates a project for me. Okay, so let me get started now, everyone. So this is a form. This is a form, a blank form for right now, and this form is basically a class, and we'll be discussing about the class later on more details. So let me go to the properties of this class, and the first thing that I would do is to change the form name. I want to change the text of this form. So I want to make it result processing system. So you could do it here by typing result processing system. And I want this to be started in the center of the screen. And I want the font size to be 12. Okay, I want this stuff size 12, and that's fine for me. So I'm not going to charge any other feature for right now. So let me make it bigger. Let me make it bigger for right now. Okay, so this much is enough. And let me go to toolbox. And the first thing that I'll drag and drop is a level. I would need a level to show what this form is all about. So right click on the level, and again I'll be changing the text property of this level. So the text property is basically I want to show this as a result processing system. So initially the font is very less for this, so this could be headed, and I want to make it bigger. So in order to make it bigger, what you can do is you can go to font, and you can again increase the font size to, let's say, 22, or let's say 20 would be enough. Okay, so this is enough for this. You can also change the color for this, so you can change the color by using the full color property. So you can choose any color that you want. For me, I'll be choosing maroon, or let's say I'm going to choose saddle brown or something like that. So okay, I'm going to choose a saddle brown. Also, you can change the background color of this form so that this looks better. So I can choose by going to the background color, back color. So let us choose any background color, and I'm going to choose, let's say, some color called sienna. Okay, and I don't know this color again. I want to change the color of this level again. I want to make it white so that this becomes more visible. Okay, this becomes now more visible. Okay, now let me drag and drop a panel. So panel would be somewhere, you can either go to the tool search section and can search it over here. Otherwise you can go to container and you can drag and drop a panel. So let me drag and drop a panel. Okay, okay, perfect. So I have dragged and dropped the panel. Now what I want to do is I want to make this panel property to I want to send the border style property of this panel to fixed ready, so to make it more solid. Okay, now I made it to a fixed ready. Now I would need a couple of labels. I would need some labels. So let me check some level here, and this level has a name called subject name. Subject name. Okay, subject name. And I want to have control C, and I want to have this as pass mark, full mark, pass mark. Let me make it change the text property of this. I want to have this as pass mark. Okay, full mark, and this one is pass mark, and the last one is obtain mark. So let me copy and paste this one, and this one is for obtain mark. Let's say this is obtain mark, and I'll show you how to use a conditional samples type of stuff. So let me just keep it in the right side so that I have more space for the subject name. Keep it on the right side, keep it on the right side. Okay. Now for subject name, I would need a couple of labels. I need 4 labels for 4 subject. I will add 4 subject here. So I have 4 subjects, and the first subject, let's say, is a programming. Let's say programming is the first subject, and the second subject is, let's say, network. The fifth subject is, let's say, professional practice, and the fifth subject, the last one, is, let's say, website design and development. Design and development. Let's see. Okay, so I have successfully designed my lay forms, and I want to make it a smaller one because I want to read the student information as well. You also need to read the student name, and we also need to read the student what you call roll number. So let me have one more label here on the top. Let me copy this and let me paste it out here, and then let me have this as the student name. Let me say this is a student name, and again I want to have this one more. Let me have this one more, and then I want to name this as roll number. So let's say this is roll number. Okay, perfect. So design is now, I have pulled down all the labels that I would need. Now the next thing that I would need to is to input control, where I will be able to provide some value. So let me see what is wrong with this website design. Okay, so ampersand, it's not being taken out here, so no issues. Let's leave it as it is for right now. Now let us take some text boxes. So text boxes also you can obtain by going to all Windows forms or command controls, or you can directly go and search with the word called text box. So let me go to all Windows form and let me browse down to the text box section, that means to the T section, and let me drag and drop it here. So I do not need this much a big, because that won't be a very big value. So let me copy this for multiple time. Let me copy this both. Okay. So I'm done with my design now, everyone, and I will copy this Control C and the Control V out here. Again, I will Control V this all. Yeah. So I just copied all my controls here, everyone. I copied all my controls. Okay. So my primary design is ready, and I would also need a text box right here. So let me copy this. Let me paste it out here. For roll number also I would need it. Let me copy this and let me make it out here. So perfect. So my design is ready, and now I can move on to something where I can display the percentage obtained by the student as well as the grade obtained by the student. For that I would need 4 labels. So let me copy this label and let me put it down here, and let me just name it as a percentage obtained by the student. Let's say this is percent obtained by the student, and also I will need one more label out here. So I'll put it down here and I will make it 0 for right now, nothing else now. So this level is 0. Let me copy this both and let me paste it to down button, and now let me make this as something called grade. Yeah, I want it to be a grade, and for grid I just want to have this as NA for right now, not applicable for right now. So this is by default NA, and I want this to be more readable. So what I will do, I'll just change the font for this both. I would change the font to 20, and that looks fine for me. Okay. And let me change the fur color for this both black. It really does not look good. So let me make this black color for this both. So let me choose fur color to white color. Okay, that looks perfect. Let me also make it bolder so that this looks much better. So let me make it bold. Perfect, everyone. So almost everything done, and I would also need a button to display the percentage and the grid. So let me just take a button for now. Again, you can either go to the all windows form, or you can go to command controls, or you can search from the search toolbox. So let me take a button out here. Let me put it button here. Let me pull it down so that this is more. And thus let me change the text property of this button to result. Okay, let me make a font size to somewhat bigger. Let me change the font size to bigger, and let us make it 20 to make consistency. And I want to change the background color for this button. So how can I change it? I can just go to the back color, and I can change the background color to anything that I want. Perfect. And I want to change the color of the button as well. So this looks more better now, more professional, everyone. Now what I can do is, now my design is almost ready. Now if you run and see, nothing is going to happen for right now because we have not written any logic till now. Okay, this is the output the user will get. I can pass any username, I can pass a roll number, and I can provide all the value. For example, some value out here, some value out here, some value out here, some value, and then obtain mark and something like that. So here. So what I will do today is, I'm not going to provide this value. Okay, the user is not, I will not allow the user to import this value. Rather than that, I'll be providing some hard coded value over here, and the user will be only able to provide the obtained mark. So this full mark by default is, let's say, by default it's, let's say, 100, and the pass mark is by default, let's say, by 45. So let us go and check all these text boxes, and let's go to the property, and let's send the text to 100. And also let's select all of these text boxes, and let's make it 45. Done. Great. But the problem is, if you run it again, you will see this is editable. I do not want this to be editable. I do not want the user to edit this value. Now, how can I do that? So I can do that by using a property. There is a property called enable, through which we can make it disable. So let's right click on all of this, and let's go to a property called enable, which should be under somewhere in the is section, and instead of making it true, I'll make it false. Now let's run and see this again, and you will see now this is disabled. The user won't be able to provide any value. The user won't be able to provide full mark or the pass mark. User will be only able to provide the obtain mark here, and can click on this button and then print also value. Now let's see how we can write a logic out here. So before we start writing the logic, the best idea to write the logic is to name all those controls. So whichever the control through which the value is to be input to the user has to be named, and it's a better idea to name, because by default, if you look into this text box, if you go to the properties of this text box, you will see the value for this text box. The name of the text box is 13, and we do not know which is text box 13. So instead of making sure that we recognize the text box, what we will do is we'll simply send the name property of this. So since this is the student name, this is going to represent the student name. So what I will do is I'll just make it txt to make sure that this is a text box, and I'll make it a student name. So you can write it any way you want, but this is the way I prefer to name. Similarly, I can make this as txt roll number. And similarly, I do not have to pass any values on this. I do not have to pass any value on this, but I need to pass a value on this. So this one, what I can do is I can make it txt o programming. So obtain marker programming. So txt o network. txt professional, okay, txt pp, txt wd, done with all the names. Also, I also need to name this result button. So I just can go to this property of this result, and I can make it a boolean result. And also I need to pass display percentage out on this level, which is 0, and by default this name is level 13, which I won't be able to understand it right now. So I just want to make it lbl percent, so I will understand now. So this is level, so level 13 lbl percent means this is 0, and if I click on the result, this value should be now lbl percentage. Similarly, this one I want to have, this is lbl grid, sorry, lbl grid. Okay, so now I am ready to code. So how to code? I can simply double click in this button called result, and now before I proceed, I need to create some variable, because I will also need to calculate the percentage. So let me create some variable, double, let's say programming mark equals to, now since this is double, so I'm just going to make it double the pass, and this value comes on programming dot text property. You might be wondering why this is to be converted to double. Because by default the text box value is always a string value, and since our programming to mark is a double variable, we have to convert it to everything to double. Now again double, let's say network mark equals to double the parse txt network dot text. Do not forget to please input text, because we are only interested in the text value of this text box. Similarly, double pp mark, okay, pp mark equals to now double dot parse txt opp dot text. Create the pp mark, and we also need wdo mark equals to now double dot parse txt owd text. So we read all the value. So this value, this text box name must match to the one you have designed in your form. So this names must match, otherwise you'll be getting an error. Now let's do the total opt-in mark. So that has to be double again. Is equals to now programming OMAC plus network OMAC plus PP OMAC plus and WD OMAC. Okay, all done. Now usually the full mark is 400, so I can calculate now percentage. So I can just do now double percent equals to total opt-in by 400 into 100, or simply this could be this much. The percentage is calculated. So let me make it double percent. And now I want to display this percent on this level. I want to display this percent on this level, which name is LBL percent, and by default this is a string value. But this percentage is a double value. Now see how to work out here. So LBL percent, which is by default a string value, is now equal to percent. So this will be giving me an error. This will give me an error because this is a string value. I can make it dot text because I'm interested in the text property of this text level. Now LBL percent, which is a string value, is not going to accept anything that is a double value. So what I can do is I can make a small change here. I can make it just to a string, and then this works. Now this whatever the percentage is converted to a string, and the string value is assigned to a string level. So we assigned a label to the string, and now if you run and check, and if you just pass this all 99, let's say any value, let's say 8, and if I pass the result, you will see the percentage is 98.75. So you got the percentage here. Similarly, now we also want to print the grade. So see now how I can do the grade. Now I can check if percent is greater or equal to 80. That means I can declare another variable called grade here. Let me create another variable called string grade equals to null for now. Let's NA for now. 8% is equals to greater or equal to 80, then grade should be equal to now distinction. Else if percentage is greater or equal to 60 and percentage is less than let's say 80. Now what is the meaning of and here? So and here means ampersand, and here means and it has to satisfy both this condition. The percentage has to be greater or equal to 80, and also the same that the percentage has to be less than 80. Then only the grade in this case will be now first 80. Sorry, it's a merit. I can also check else if I made a mistake here. Let's make now else if percentage is greater or equal to, let's say 60, okay, 45, and percentage is less than 60, then we also can make grade equals to now simply pass. Else if percentage is less than 45, then unfortunately this grade is failed. Okay, so all done everyone. So you see we used a nested if else condition out here to display the grade of the student. Now we can say LBL grade dot text should be equal to now grade dot string. All done everyone. All work done. So now let's run and check this again here. So let's say 88, 88, 88, 88, and let me make it 88. Results will be 88 and it's a distinction. Perfect. So this is perfect now. Now there is a problem here. There is a small problem here. Let me run it again and I'll show you what is the problem. Let's say 80, 99, 99, 9 and 9. 99. Result. You see, a student failed in one subject, but still is getting a grade of merit. Alright everyone. So even a student is being failed in one of the subject and is still getting a merit here. So now we want to avoid this. We want to make sure that a student must pass in every subject. The marks of every subject must be greater than 45 in order to get the grade. Okay? In order to get a grade, the marks should be more than 45. Otherwise, the grade should be an A. So in order to do this, what you can do over here is, so here I can make some changes here. A percentage is less or equal to 80. Yeah, so none of the subject and in any of the subjects the students should not be getting less than 45. So there are some multiple conditions that you need to check out here. You need to check for each subject. We need to check for each subject and this is very tricky job. So I'll have a separate video for this. But right now you all make sure you do this and in our next video we'll see how you can check whether a user gets any value which is also there are let's say 449 and you get this type of error. You see 184% and it's a distinction here. We're getting error, lots of error. So there are some error out here. So now what you can do to avoid this error? So you can still be using a conditional statement, but we'll do that in the next video. So till now you just do it everyone. Stay safe, stay home.